I'm going to share screen. And yeah, we're talking about NFTs. So if you guys are familiar with non-fungible tokens, then you probably think of the first one that always comes to mind is CryptoKitties. But really, that was the dawn of NFTs a couple of years ago when it kind of famously froze the Ethereum blockchain when it got so viral. Since then, there's been a lot of NFT activity, and it's really spawned into a kind of ecosystem or niche of its own within the blockchain space. So some of my favorite parts of NFTs are nothing to do with things like cats and crypto, but actually like art. So there's the crypto art scene where you're actually taking, instead of a Bitcoin, which is fungible, your Bitcoin's worth the same as my Bitcoin, you have a piece of artwork tokenized and I have a different piece of artwork tokenized, and they could have totally different values. So that's pretty cool. That's a kind of different type of experience you can have by creating non-fungible items on the blockchain. And usually you get these values from things like their scarcity. You can prove that there's only one copy of your artwork. And sometimes people say, oh, well, I can just download that same GIF or that same image. And really they haven't thought it through yet, because you could also take a picture of the Mona Lisa off of Google image search, but of course it's not nearly as valuable as the real Mona Lisa. So ownership and proof of ownership is really what blockchains are all about. So it's a very cool application. And I've been working in the space with NFTs for the last 2.5 years. I co-founded Mintable, which is like the first place you could go online and you could take your MetaMask and you could mint your own NFT. You could basically take any image on your computer and then tokenize it with all sorts of metadata included in that token to prove, you know, it is the one that was made at that time, and pass them from wallet to wallet. So that's the scarcity aspect. There's also a lot of excitement with the ecosystem side. There's places like what they call metaverses. So maybe you've heard of Decentraland. There's also crypto voxels, which is really cool because it's a bit more like Minecraft. And the advantage that one offers is it's super user-friendly. You can just share a hyperlink to an address on Twitter or in your favorite chat room. People can click on it, and right there in their browser, even on their phone, it doesn't matter if they have an account or not, they're just dropped into the metaverse. Suddenly they're exploring this 3D world, and the property in these worlds are actually tokenized parcels. So you actually have virtual property for the first time in history. You can actually prove who owns which piece of virtual land, and it takes video gaming to a whole nother level, and that's something I'm working on now. I'm going to share here in a minute. But the third part, the value, comes from the community itself, because you could do all that, and if there's no community, then you really won't have much value, right? So these are the things most people think about when they think about a non-fungible token having value. But we're going to tie it into DeFi today, because we think about, this is a question I pondered after Mintable. I was working on Mintable, and I was also a part of Digix DAO, which is a gold stablecoin company. And I was thinking, you know, that project's really interesting, but the gold stablecoins are nothing like my real life world gold coin collection, because there I have a little bag of coins and I can look at each one. They're unique. They have a story. I don't get that with a stablecoin. And I was like, oh my gosh, what if I could take the NFTs I'm minting, create a special contract with an escrow where you put stablecoins, and those stablecoins are tied to a specific NFT. And then you would be able to bake the value on chain into a specific non-fungible token. And so what came out of that is our first project, which was called BullionX. And you can go to bullionx.io and see exactly what you see here on the screen. They are 3D digital collectibles, provably rare. And the cool part is, to mint them, you have to stake DGX gold tokens into the NFTs, specific amounts. So maybe the gold coin you see here is a 5-gram gold coin. 1 DGX is equal to 1 gram of gold. You would actually need to take 5 DGX and stake it into the smart contract, into the escrow, in order to mint this rare coin. And most of the BullionX, you know, they're very rare. There's only like 5 or 10 of them in existence. Some of them are super special. They're one of one. Some of them were designed and made by myself and my team. The other half are made in collaboration with some of the crypto artists that are coming up in the space that I mentioned earlier. So Twitter is a great place to discover a lot of cool crypto artists. And some of them you can discover by visiting BullionX and seeing them trying their hand at making and reimagining what gold coins and coin collecting could look like in the future. So yeah, kind of repeating myself here, the idea is that you get intrinsically valued non-fungible tokens. And if you ever want out, there is a full system. You're able to melt your gold coin, and the act of melting it or burning it on the network completely destroys it forever, but you'll get the staked amount that's in that escrow contract returned to you. So you would get 5 DGX back if you melted your 5-gram gold BullionX. Now, what I really want to talk about is that's kind of like DeFi, the gold, but it's kind of DeFi light. Real DeFi is more like what Lisa was talking about in terms of derivatives and all sorts of creative financial products that you're able to create. And so after we built BullionX, and that, to be honest, it continues. We're working on BullionX, but we continued and we thought, man, there is so many things we could do with value staked non-fungible tokens. And so we started playing out some of these ideas, and really the most exciting one was working with DeFi. And because you start getting yield and interest earned, and you could do all sorts of interesting things as far as gamifying this value that's accruing. You could do all sorts of different things with this value. So the team, we started really thinking about what else we could do, and the project from Aave, one of the biggest DeFi projects there is, the team Aave has all these ERC20 tokens called A tokens. And they look and feel like all the popular tokens you already hold. For example, Chainlink's Link coin, but instead of a handle being capital LINK, it's a lowercase a and then link. So it's A Link. Or the stable coins like AUSDC. And why do they do this? Because the A tokens actually will accrue interest natively. You don't have to do anything or interact with a dApp, but just by holding the A link instead of the normal link, you had 1,000 A link in your MetaMask wallet yesterday. Maybe today you have 1,001. It's just naturally increasing in amounts inside your crypto wallets. So that's like very interesting for us. We were like, if we can stake these A tokens inside NFT, what could we do with it? And Aave's mascot is a ghost. And we went out to Aave, and they actually really liked the idea and were very supportive from the start. So they said, okay, go ahead and see what you can build as far as a demo, and maybe we can support you along the way. And so we came back a few weeks later with Aavegotchi, and it's pixelated, fun artwork kind of presentation. And some of the ideas are you're playing with your DeFi, you're playing with your interest earned, and we're also kind of making what is usually a very intimidating subject. DeFi can be quite intimidating. We're making it very fun and approachable. So it's a great way to combine DeFi and non-fungible tokens. And we're going to launch with these Aavegotchi on the mainnet Ethereum in December. And what you can see here is the first Aavegotchi. What he's got on here, you'll notice his eyes are covered by a kind of Star Trek looking headset. That's a wearable. So if you get into like NFTs, you'll quickly learn that in Decentraland or some of these metaverses, you have your main character, and then you're able to own digital assets that can decorate your avatar. So they're called wearables. And so you're going to be able to not only have a non-fungible collectible Aavegotchi that you can feed A tokens to, you can stake A tokens to him almost like a digital piggy bank, but you also are going to have wearables that are also of different sets of rarity, and you're going to be able to take these rare traits and actually gamify them and participate in all sorts of mini games. And the chances of you winning or being a favorite or an underdog are directly tied to the personality traits of your particular Aavegotchi. So every Aavegotchi has a unique set of traits. The way you discover yours is that you're going to buy an NFT that looks like this, and it's called a portal. So you're going to buy a portal, and I guess I could make my screen bigger for you guys. I'm sorry. Let's take a look here. You get the portal, and you'll use our Ghost token, the native ecosystem eco governance token, to do that. You get the portal, and then what happens is we actually engage with Chainlink's VRF, which is a randomizer smart contract. It's an oracle that determines provably how random some results are. And what it's going to do is you're going to buy your portal almost like a deck of cards. Then you're going to open your portal and 10 Aavegotchi are going to appear. They're all totally randomly figured out according to the Oracle. And then what happens is you choose the one that you want to summon. You can only summon one Aavegotchi through that particular portal. And so you look at them, you decide who you really want to summon. And to do that, you stake one of the A tokens. So in this case, you can see a chain link, an A link Aavegotchi, and you're going to stake A link particular amounts depending on his rarity level into him. And then he will be summoned through the portal and he's yours to train with, vote in the DAO with, or play mini games with. And doing all those different actions are actually going to earn him XP points, just like a role-playing game, because we think that that Web3 is basically one big MMORPG. So these are your avatars that are going to live with you and grow with you and actually evolve throughout the Web3 experience over the coming years. And so while they're doing that, they're accruing interest with the DeFi. Some of the mini games, you're going to actually be able to take the yield that you've earned and compete with it. There'll be like different weight classes. There'll be different, almost like different competitions where you could win or lose yield. So it's quite exciting in that way. Right here, I just introduced kind of how it's different from some other NFT projects that really you should be familiar with all of them. They're all fantastic. There's BullionX, our own, so we're fans. But CryptoKitties, the original, and what Avastars did is they were the first ones to figure out how to take really small, efficient file sizes and host them permanently on the Ethereum blockchain. Because usually a blockchain is not very good at being a cloud service for storage. But they're able to take really light SVG files and create their images there. We've taken that concept and what they kind of pioneered, and we are doing something similar, even dare I say a little more efficient, so that all the Aavegotchis are living forever on the blockchain. If there's no Amazon server that's going to go down and suddenly you lose all the visual data. Nope, everything is stored on the blockchain, and we're super excited about that. We're also excited about the DAO governance because unlike other NFT projects, they haven't really embraced the idea of a community deciding what to do with the development and the roadmap. So right now we have an awesome community that is coming together for the last month, and mostly Discord channels and Telegram as well. And they are already debating proposals and figuring out what they can do to figure out where we want the game to go. So we as the core team are kind of guiding it through the first DAO 1.0. But through this Ghost token that is a governance token for the whole ecosystem, people will be able to do everything as we go. In fact, it's going to be the first DAO that has not just a boring UI, but actually has a metaverse where you go and you vote in real time in like an events-based DAO where you go into like a video game and you actually cast your votes. So we have a lot in store in that department, and that's why people are so excited about it. We're basically bringing together NFT nerds, the DeFi degens, and the governance-obsessed DAOists. So tonight's quite a special night for me because we are actually commencing the summoning tonight. We are summoning the DAO by launching a token bonding curve for the GHST token about 2 hours from now. So it's quite an exciting night, and the community is pretty much on fire and ready to get started with governing and making proposals and getting ready for the December mainnet launch of Aavegotchi. So with that said, I'll wrap up here, and then I will, if we have time, I'll take a few questions. So let me see if I can stop sharing the screen.
Yes, please. There are a lot of questions for you, Jesse.
Are there? Okay, I'm coming back over from the screen sharing. Click to close. Yeah, I really don't know how to stop sharing the screen.
It's okay. I'll just put you as focus.
Okay.
Ta-da.
Oh, there we go.
All right. So if you go to ask a question below, a few stuff for you.
Cool. I see a few from here. Avalon says, would you agree that without DeFi, NFTs are headed for death? No, I think that would be NFTs were doing fine before DeFi. I think they'll do fine after. But I think it's fair to say that the type of projects that, like, especially my team's working on, we would not be able to build Aavegotchi without DeFi. So without the Aave A tokens accruing interest, For sure, we would lose a lot of the most interesting aspects that originally inspired us to make this project. Being able to play with yield and basically gamify a digital piggy bank has a lot of things there that couldn't be done without the DeFi aspect. So good question.
So there's one that's to Aavegotchi. How is Aavegotchi related to Aave's protocol and features like flash loan and credit delegation?
Right. So the initial use case is the A tokens themselves, because it's so user friendly. You don't really have to do anything with the Aave platform itself. You don't have to go to the Aave dashboard or anything. But what you do have to do is to play our game, you're going to have to get some A tokens. So it could be A DAI, it could be A Link, A USDT, any of those. And you're going to need kind of a collection of those, because you probably don't want just one Aavegotchi. The mini games kind of, you benefit by having a collection. So you're going to want to own a little bit of each A token, so to speak. There are some other things we're looking at as far as using other types of interest-bearing tokens outside of the Aave ecosystem, but initially there's so much to do just with Aave, and we'll probably work a little bit more on that front for the foreseeable future. Yeah, DeFi degens. I see Du's comment. That's right.
What's the relationship between Ghost and Lend? When will Aave officially announce this?
Okay, so we are an independent team separate from Aave. We're the Aavegotchi team. The team's actually called Pixelcraft Studios. And so we're announced. We're going to have the token bonding curve tonight. There's about 2,000 people in our Discord that are excited and ready for that. You can check it out and read more on our Medium blogs or Twitter. The Aave team is not directly involved, but very supportive. So like I say, they've been with us from the beginning. They actually funded us with a funding grant to explore Aavegotchi and whether it was a feasible idea. And after, like I say, about a month of working through that and the milestones, we basically got the green light that we knew this was something quite special. Sean, I see you. Sean, I know Sean. Good to see you, Sean. Yep, Aave A tokens. They're really just an awesome tool for NFTs to blend with as far as value staked NFTs. The last thing I guess I could say to wrap up is just that I think there's going to be a lot more of these value staked NFTs or intrinsic valued NFTs down the road. You're going to see, we're really the only team that's been obsessed with value staked NFTs. Over this last year, you've seen us release BullionX and now Aavegotchi, but it's proven itself to be such a useful thing because you get a kind of foundational level of whatever ERC20 is staked inside, plus the speculative nature of collectibles. So you kind of get exposure to both worlds at the same time. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other teams and interesting projects that are going to see what we're doing and are maybe already working on things like that.